Hi, I'm Val. I am a sculptor, and something that I love to do with my art is take you back in time. Growing up in the 90s and early 2000s, there are a few shows that really tug on my heartstrings whenever I come across their content again. One that really gave me so much comfort and has such a special place in my heart is Blue's Clues. Specifically, it's Steve's Blue's Clues. Little Val would come home from elementary school and had to stay home alone until Mama Y came back from work. And because I don't have any siblings, sometimes it can get a little quiet. And Steve was literally my friend that I came home to every day. I did the little dancey dances with him. I answered all his questions out loud to the TV. One aspect of the show that was especially memorable for me was his handy dandy notebook. It was what he uses to record his clues. Tell me how this man can draw anything and make it look so easy and so simple. Thinking back to it now, I really think he's one of my first art inspirations. So I wanted to dedicate this piece to Steve and all of us 90s and 2000s kids who had the pleasure of growing up with him. What really lit a fire in me about this project is that I wanted to make the notebook flippable and for the pages and binding to be made entirely out of clay. And if you've been following me for a while, you'll know that I used to love making phone grips, so I thought it would be fun to do that again and make this project into one as well. As always, I started with mixing the colors that I needed first, which included an olive green and yellow for the pages, a cherry red for the binding, a black that's actually a very, very dark green for the crayon, and a lighter dark green also for the crayon, but I actually didn't end up using it. I started with making the notebook first. I used this roller that a follower actually very kindly donated to me. I love this roller because it has these rubber bands that keep the roller level, so you can roll out very evenly flat pieces of clay, and you can also adjust how far apart the rubber bands go depending on the size of the surface that you're working on. You might want to pull it closer together or further apart. I then cut out the squares for the front and back covers, then squares for the yellow pages. For this piece, I was intending to just make something that came to my mind without overthinking or overcomplicating it, which is something that I tend to do. But I didn't expect that the notebook would actually pose challenges for me. Specifically, making the tiny holes on the pages took a few methods and trials because I didn't have those tiny little circle cutters that I would need to make the tiny holes. Usually I use my dotting tool or needle tool to make very small holes, but because this is done on a very thin sheet of unbaked clay, the clay and holes can get easily warped when you're creating one hole very closely next to another one. I tried using a syringe and cutting a Q-tip in half to use the shaft as a small cutter, but nothing gave me clean cut circles. I asked myself, how do I usually make holes in regular paper? And of course, I use a hole puncher. I remembered I buried a tiny hole puncher in my drawer that I used to use to make holes in my earring backing cards. I knew it wasn't going to work on flimsy, unbaked clay, so I tried punching a hole through baked clay, and long and behold, it worked. I did a couple of test pages to make sure I got the spacing and alignment right between the holes. This was literally just through trial and error. I didn't do anything technical to measure the distances, but pretty quickly I got a row of holes that I was happy with, so I used that as a template to mark where the holes should be for all the other pages. I then very carefully painted on the borders of the notebook and the couch with some acrylic paint. On the yellow page inside, I decided instead of a doodle, I painted on Blue's paw print using a Posca marker. For the binding, I rolled out and baked a few open loops first so that they will hold in shape when I string the pages through. I knew I wanted to make this into a phone grip, so I needed the notebook to sit flat on the bottom side, which means the binding can't go all the way around. I cut both ends of the loops so the edges are parallel to the surface of the phone grip and used UV resin to hold them in place. I also applied UV resin to the couch and the blue paw print to give them a bit of dimension and protection. I created the pen out of a small piece of super dark green clay and painted on the iconic green stripes. I wanted the background of the phone grip to really add to the recognizability of the design, so I decided to paint Steve's room wallpaper as the background of the phone grip. Lastly, I attached the notebook and the crayon to the phone grip with some super glue. And here's the final product. I hope you'll love this, and I hope you enjoyed watching this video. Let me know if I should make this into a nostalgia series and we can make things out of our favorite childhood TV shows together. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you immensely for 20K subscribers. Your support in whatever capacity means so much to me. So thank you, and I'll see you all next time. Bye!
You sure are smart, you know, with me and you and my dog Blue, we can do anything that we wanna do. Bye-bye. See you later. Bye. Come again. Bye-bye.